Hello, you gorgeous donuts. Today we're going to be talking about the epidemic of Nepo babies, as they are taking over the entertainment industry and there's no slowing down of it. In this video, we're going to talk about what a Nepo baby is, why Nepo babies are so hated. Later on, we're going to have a look at two of the most successful Nepo babies, and two Nepo babies that couldn't turn their name into success for themselves. Genuinely, I am so excited for this one. Let's get into it. But first, what is a Nepo baby? So this is defined as a person who benefits from their parents' celebrity, social capital, or wealth to achieve success in a closely related field of work to their mother or father. Nepo babies are able to exploit their parental connections in specific industries to build their own careers in the same or similar sector. So that pretty much sums it up. It's the children of people that already have like the spotlight on them, trying to have some spotlight for themselves and build on the ready-made fame that's been given to them. To give this term its full name, it's nepotism baby, and this was often coined in the 2010s when we started to see a lot of Nepo babies kind of be introduced into Hollywood a lot more than usual, and people started to take note and realise that this was actually becoming quite an epidemic. Now, as we're going to see later on in this baby, being a Nepo baby doesn't guarantee success, but it does guarantee you a lot of things. If you're trying to be in Hollywood, you have such a huge advantage if your parents are actors before, because the agents already have connections with your parents, which means you're basically kind of in an academy already from the day you're born. Like, you don't have to go out there and form them connections. They're already there for you if you want them. Another advantage Nepo babies get is they often get like early training. So if their parents were in the music industry or they were actors, they can take them to acting classes or singing lessons from early on and get them involved with the best people. You often see this in boxing quite a lot. A lot of the top level boxers were actually trained by family members or people they knew that were previous champions. For instance, Floyd Mayweather's dad was an amazing boxer, and he was seen as one of the best defensive boxers of his time. And then he had a son, Floyd Mayweather, who, you know, arguably went on to be one of the greatest boxers ever. So it's not just limited to the arts, it stretches into basically any industry. I also think an underrated advantage that Nepo babies have is the kind of safety net that they're offered from birth in the sort of industry. So for example, if they want to pursue a career in acting, if their family, you know, have a history with that, they will know the struggles that come with that and give them time. Whereas if most people, like for instance, when I started YouTube, I remember like, you know, my family members were like, you're not doing that, like this is just I don't understand it, we're not gonna, like, you know, you have to get a job, you have to do that, like you're not offered the same kind of, you know, I guess breathing room as what a Nepo baby would have. And on the topic of risk, another kind of advantage Nepo babies get is with like brand risk. So for example, a lot of the top agents or casting directors in Hollywood, they will see it as less of a risk if they choose someone with a famous surname, because already there's kind of a marketing point to it. They can already sell this to the marketing team, and it's just less of a risk than hiring someone who is unknown. And all of these factors that I've discussed has created such a hate for Nepo babies. Like instantly, if someone is found out to have any sort of nepotism in the rise during their career, it's almost seen as like a really bad thing, and people automatically have a negative opinion on it a lot of the time. Now, I do understand that, and I've probably felt that a lot of times when seeing various people who, you know, are a success because of nepotism. But there is some people, like we're going to see later on in this video, that yes, they have had, you know, advantages from being a Nepo baby, but they've took it to heights that their parents could never even imagine. And I do think the public do give a lot of respect to those people that have, you know, obviously had the advantages of nepotism. But what the public don't really like is when people don't acknowledge that they are a Nepo baby and that the position that they've found themselves in from birth has actually been such a huge advantage to their career. One of the most famous cases for this is Lily Rose Depp, who is the daughter of Johnny Depp, you know, obviously Pirates of the Caribbean, Edward Scissorhands. I don't even need to name the movies, you know who he is. Now, she often kind of says in interviews that nepotism hasn't helped her in her career. She did an interview back in 2022 where she first said this: people are going to have preconceived ideas about you or how you got there, and I can definitely say that nothing is going to get you the part except for you being right for the part. It's weird to me to reduce somebody to the idea that they're only there because it's a generational thing. It just doesn't make any sense. If someone's mom or dad is a doctor and then the kid becomes a doctor, you're not going to be like, well, you're only a doctor because your parent is a doctor. It's like, no, I went to medical school and trained. It's not really the same thing though. I understand from her point of view the point she's trying to make, but because she doesn't have the perspective that a lot of other people have, it just doesn't make any sense to like people like us. Because you could argue that, you know, being a doctor is a lot harder harder than, you know, becoming an actor and the entry. And obviously you have to train for years to even be in the position to, you know, perform being a doctor. And I'm not saying you don't have to with acting. What I'm saying is I don't think the Nepo advantage is the same with that. Now, obviously there was a lot of pushback from the public when she came out with this, but she kind of doubled down in 2024 saying, look, like, I am not here because of my dad, I'm here because of me. She basically responded again saying, if people still want to talk, that's not my problem. So she basically is not a fan of people saying that she's in the position she is because of her father. Now, that might not actually be the case. That might be down to her hard work that she's in the position that she is. People aren't really disputing that, I don't think. People are just saying you had the opportunity to be in this position because of your parents. That's basically what I think people are trying to argue. What you do with that, that's on you. Now, if you are a donor and you watch a lot of my videos, you know I always talk from everyone's point of view. I can imagine it is very annoying if you are one of these Nepo babies and, you know, you feel like you're successful in your own right and everybody keeps telling you that, you know, you're only successful because of your parents. I can understand that that would be very frustrating, especially if you are working on your craft every single day, no matter what industry you're in. I can imagine that's infuriating, but I do feel like fighting fire with fire isn't the kind of best way to go about it. I think if you just acknowledge that, yes, I was in this fortunate position to have the ability to be in this sector, but look what I've actually done with it since I got the opportunity, and look how other people who've been in my position haven't achieved what I've achieved. I feel like that response is a lot better, and it also kind of shows that you acknowledge that you have been lucky in a way. That's all people kind of want. They're not trying to slate you. Now, not every single Nepo baby responds this way. This is one interesting thing. Like, no Nepo baby is made the same way. Some become massive stars because of the platform, I guess, that their parents has built for them, whereas some tarnish their parents' legacy forever. Now, that takes us on to our next section, where we are going to discuss two that became even more successful than their parents and two that didn't and bring great shame. I'm joking, but, you know, they just didn't really kind of outperform their parents, really. Now, one of the most successful Nepo babies, especially like in recent times, is Dakota Johnson. She was born into a high-profile Hollywood family. Her mother was Melanie Griffith. Why did I say that with the lip? Griffith. And her father was Don Johnson, who are both huge actors in their time. Interestingly as well, her grandmother is Tippi Hedren, who was also an actress and is like Hitchcock's muse, which is kind of crazy. So you could argue that her parents are also Nepo babies. Now, I don't know what that makes her. Is that like Nepo baby? Nepo squared baby? I don't know what that makes her. Nepo, because Nepo doesn't have the same ring to it. Actually, it kind of does. It kind of sounds cool. I'm going to call her a Nepo baby from now on. Just trying to keep the fame in the family here, okay? That's what we're doing. Now, obviously, because both of her parents were like actors in Hollywood, she would often spend a lot of time on set. You know, obviously she's meeting these huge producers, casting directors. Like, she's basically just already in this world, whereas some people have to work years and years and years. Some people work their entire life being an actor and never actually managed to break Hollywood, so she's already, you know, ahead of them in terms of connections. And this led to her first on-screen appearance. It was only a small role in 1999 in a movie called Crazy in Alabama. Now, interestingly, this was actually directed by a stepfather, who is Antonio Banderas. Bro, like, what are we doing here? Can we not just have like a dad who, like, you know, works in Tesco or something? Like, every single person in your life is just like an A-list celebrity. Mad. Unbelievable for her. Right, she definitely won the gene pool. Now, she was only 10 years old at this point, so already before she's even left school, she's in like a huge Hollywood movie. At 16, she actually won Miss Golden Globe in 2006. Obviously, this award was given to a celebrity child, and this just kind of increased her visibility even more, and kind of just says to the wider casting of Hollywood that, look, I'm here, put me in your movies, okay? She actually signed with a company called IMG Models after this and went on to have a really successful career modeling. And this led to her actually breaking into movies. I didn't actually realise how many movies she's had a little bit of a small role in. Like, she was in The Social Network, you know, the Facebook movie with Andrew Garfield and Jesse Eisenberg. I didn't know that. She was also in 21 Jump Street in 2012 and Ben and Kate, which was a movie also, I believe, in 2012. For her first three things to be in, not bad, is it? You know, just the, you know, a movie with Andrew Garfield, then, you know, the next one with Channing Tatum, just average in it, just whatever. However, her major breakthrough, where she was basically like the main character in the movie, was in 2015 when 50 Shades of Grey dropped. This obviously was adapted from the book and just became like a huge franchise in the movie scene as well. I believe this actually grossed over £1 billion, like the entire franchise, so this just instantly made her like an A-list actor. And then she would go on to, in 2022, actually launch her own production company called called Tea Time Pictures. And I think her latest, biggest project she's had is definitely Madam Web in 2024, where she actually was Madam Web. So obviously she's very successful in her own right, but nepotism definitely had such a huge part in her journey. It might not have led her to where she is, but it definitely gave her like the I guess the platform to build on. And Dakota has actually recognised this. She said like earlier in her career she was allowed to be in a lot more rooms for auditions for various movies because of her name and because of her connections. Like she basically got early access to a lot of audition rooms. And it's nice to hear her say that, because you know, if she kind of didn't recognise her nepotism and didn't like say, oh, like I had an advantage over other people, then I feel like the entirety of the public would have a much different opinion on her. But just because she recognises it, it makes me kind of be like, you know what, fair enough. Like it wasn't your kind of fault that you were born into, you know, a perfect place to become an actress. But I feel like this person has really took it to like the next level and worked hard with it. They haven't took it for granted, basically. And I appreciate that as much as I kind of can. Now, from one successful Nepo baby to one Nepo baby that is basically the poster boy when people criticise babies that have, you know, benefited from nepotism. Brooklyn Beckham. Everybody knows this boy, bloody hell. You could go out in the street and ask people's opinions on Brooklyn Beckham, and you know, I imagine most people would have something negative to say. Not in like a nasty way, like that he's evil, just in a way that they kind of are sick of hearing about him. Now, Brooklyn Beckham is definitely probably one of the most famous, widely known cases of someone that has benefited from being a Nepo baby but hasn't managed to kind of unlock the success for it. For people that don't know by his surname, he is the eldest son of David and Victoria Beckham. David Beckham, you know, arguably the most famous footballer ever. Definitely English footballer, like worldwide. And also Victoria Beckham, who, you know, was in the Spice Girls and also just has hugely successful businesses. They're both A-list celebrities in their own way. Now, obviously, being the eldest son of these two, you're going to have a lot of scrutiny on you from a young age. I remember David Beckham would often bring Brooklyn on the pitch. He would have him like on his shoulders. Like, Brooklyn was very much exposed to the public eye straight away. He wasn't kind of kept in the shadows like a lot of other celebrities choose to do with their children and kind of let them live a normal life. That was never going to be the case for Brooklyn, and that's why I do have a bit of sympathy for him, because it's similar to what happens with vlog channels, and you see these parents, they put their children on YouTube from a very young age, and the decision has already been made that you must have a career in this space because this is kind of what we've exposed you to. You can't really just go and get a normal job now because you'll get harassed by people possibly. And because of this, Brooklyn definitely doesn't know like what to do in the kind of public eye, or what you know, like what his role is going to be, what job he's going to have in the public eye. You can tell he is just so confused. One of the first things that he tried was photography at 16. But one of his first shoots, he actually managed to shoot for Burberry on one of their campaigns, which even saying that is just absolutely mental. Like, one of my close mates is a photographer, and he like has obviously worked for years to get in a position where he is hired by people. Like, for him to, you know, get a job at Burberry, you would have to just work years and years and years and years to get that position, and Brooklyn Beckham just gets it on one of his first ones. Now, I do believe Burberry did this because, look, we're literally talking about the brand right now. Not that they need it, but it gives them even more recognition, more marketing. It gets them in people's mouths. So you could argue they knew exactly what they were doing here. I'm not saying they threw him under the bus, because, you know, it's a great opportunity for him to showcase his skills. But what I'm saying is, I don't think they got Brooklyn Beckham to shoot for them because of his skill level. However, many people like criticised, you know, his photos and saying it wasn't on the level needed for Burberry. Like, many photographers were coming out saying, look, like, I've worked at my craft for so long, and then this guy just comes in and just gets to take my opportunity. And, you know, those people definitely have a point, and it is sad that, you know, Burberry chose to choose someone just because of their surname, not because of, you know, their ability, which it should always be on. It should always be on your ability. He then also released like a photography book, and this was, I don't know who advised him to do this or who signed off on this, but this was one of his biggest mistakes when he was trying to become a photographer, because it was very just dull and very simple, and it looked like something that, you know, a child did. This was called What I See, Brooklyn Beckham. Weirdly, it actually has 3.7 stars out of 5 stars, so I thought it would be worse because of the reaction it got, like, in the tabloids and online. That 3.7 is actually quite good. This was described as the first book of Brooklyn Beckham. It's a series of snapshots of his life. Each chapter tells a different story through pictures by and of Brooklyn, accompanied by captions and passages of text in his own words. Now, like I said, the response to this was, you know, pretty horrific. As you can see here, there's a photo that Brooklyn took of an elephant, and he just titled it Elephant in Kenya. So, you know, not really... it's not really groundbreaking, I guess, is it, you know? I mean, say what you see. That's basically, he'd be mint at catchphrase. Maybe that's the role for him, to host that show. Kick Stephen Mulhern off. His face freaks us out anyway. Now, although, you know, obviously this isn't a great book for, you know, most people to read, I do feel like it received a lot more criticism than it probably deserved. You know, like, it was said it was going to be a picture book with just little captions on. And I think if anybody else released that at his age, they would get praise for it. But it's just the fact that it's Brooklyn Beckham that obviously people are just going to hate on it for, especially because he's had the Burberry campaign and, you know, he's marketing himself now as a photographer, so people are already holding him to a level with him being Brooklyn Beckham. Now they're holding him to an even higher level, because if it's not amazing when he comes out with it, it's going to get trashed. Even if it was amazing, it's going to get criticism. And just reading back through some articles, like during this time when it was getting reported on, many other published photographers were coming out and saying, look, like, he's only a teenager. Like, when I was a teenager, I probably, you know, was this good or not even as good as this, so just let him kind of work on it, stop giving him so much criticism. And I think Brooklyn would have appreciated that, because it's so hard, because it's such a great opportunity that he's been given, but also it's just a lose-lose situation, because he's making all of his mistakes in public. Like, you know, whenever you start a new thing, you're terrible at it. Like, you're honestly terrible. When I first started YouTube, I was terrible at it. I'm not even that good at it now, never mind 8 years ago. But if I was uploading my first videos in front of millions of people, like, that's people's first impressions of you, and it's so hard to unwork that. You've got to work so much harder. So yes, he has definitely benefited from nepotism, because he gets the opportunity to do something like this, but it comes with an equal adverse effect in his case. Where I think the criticism is valid for Brooklyn is he actually apparently started a degree in photography at Parsons, but then he dropped out. Like, he didn't really do it for that long, so it kind of shows that his heart was never really in it. And then he would actually go on to stop doing photography at all, so it was almost kind of a hobby for him rather than pursuing a career. And I can understand if you work in that industry, someone has just came in and left and got like an opportunity that you've never had before. I would be fuming as well. I'd be like, yeah, that's just not fair. But also, from Brooklyn's point of view, I had many hobbies when I was a teenager that I tried and I didn't like, and I moved on to the next one. It's just the fact that, you know, I didn't have famous parents, so nobody knew about them. I was able to fail in private, whereas Brooklyn can't fail in private. His next venture would then be modelling, and he did actually get some ambassadorships for like Superdry straight away, you know, instantly, just at the top of the top. I mean, Superdry is not the top, but, you know, big brand. However, that didn't last that long, and it actually got cancelled. And shortly after, he would then quit modelling when left like with no real substance. Like, he didn't really do anything in that space, the same as photography. So then he actually took a pivot to becoming a chef, like a kind of like a cooking entrepreneur, like a celebrity chef, I guess. And he actually launched a full-blown YouTube channel and like social content around this, and would often do content with his girlfriend, now wife.
So now I'm gonna use a cheese wedge. Do you hear that? I just heard like a little pop, so that means, you know, the cracking process has actually begun, which is a good sign. My dad in England, he always had them in his wine cellar, so I've always been really curious of how to open one.
One thing I didn't even realise is this is on Vogue's YouTube channel. Like, Vogue. He's literally just started, and Vogue are like, yeah, do you want to do one of your recipes just like on our YouTube channel? Oh yeah, no stress, yeah, it's fine. Oh yeah, I mean, that's what everyone does, right? Now, as you can see, you know, he's not like an expert in this field. He's kind of just started, and this kind of got him a lot of hate as well, because people were like, oh, is he going to start this and he's going to quit this again? Like, why should we be invested in his cooking journey when I was so invested in his photography book, and then he just quit on us? I do believe it's so tricky, because, you know, obviously you're going to say yes to an opportunity if Vogue kind of want you on their YouTube channel, and if a production team is like, look, do you want to launch a YouTube channel around your skills? Do you want to have a full social media team? And you've got endless amounts of money, you're going to be like, yeah, I'll do it, like, this is amazing. But also, if you are quite mediocre at the skill that you're trying to, you know, portray, it's not going to come off well, and it's going to be coming off as like inauthentic, and people aren't going to actually like believe that you actually are enthralled in what you're doing and obsessed with it. He has also been called out for being like out of touch and using like luxury ingredients rather than just like the basic things in some of his videos. But like, yeah, did you expect that Brooklyn Beckham was going to be in touch with, like, you know, normal people? How? The kid grew up with, like, the most famous parents ever, had unlimited money, just, like, lived in loads of different countries. You think this kid is going to know what it's like to grow up on a council estate? Like, what? No, of course he's going to be out of touch. I do like that we're kind of having a different perspective in this one, because I watch so many videos where people just rip the out of him, and I understand it because he does say some cringe things, but I'm just trying to understand why he's like this, rather than just look at it on a surface level and be like, yeah, he's pretty like you know. Now, one annoying thing is apparently, you know, he's kind of took the foot off the gas with the whole cooking thing, and he's now like kind of had a cameo in a film in one of his wife's movies. Also, apparently he's like diving into wine or something now and doing stuff around wine. I think he's got bored of, you know, the next thing, and I feel like this is going to be an endless cycle with him. And I honestly think the common kind of, you know, occurrence in Brooklyn's life is purpose. I don't think it's the actual things he's doing. I think he's just looking for something that fills something inside of him that he can't seem to solve. It's a thing that he thinks is going to bring him some purpose in life. And this is one thing, I know we're going incredibly deep here, but I'm kind of enjoying it, so apologies for that. But the only thing that I honestly think in this world that makes you truly happy is having a purpose and having a reason for being here. You know, many people live their lives without ever finding what their purpose was, and I definitely think Brooklyn Beckham just doesn't seem to have found his. It just seems like he's coasting through life, doing whatever, not really kind of doing anything of any substance that's having any effect on anyone, and it just seems like he's doing this time and time again and never really finding the thing that suits him. But I mean, hey, what a great opportunity to be in. You know, money's not a factor. You just get to do whatever you want to do. Must be nice. Anyway, moving on to somebody that actually did become more famous than their parents, Miley Cyrus. Now, Miley Cyrus is one of the biggest pop stars on the planet, like hugely successful in her own right, despite being a Nepo baby. Many people have brought up that she had a major advantage as her dad is Billy Ray Cyrus. For people that don't know who that is, he's basically one of the biggest country artists ever. He actually has one of the most famous country songs ever as well, Achy Breaky Heart, which I imagine you have heard, you know, one time in your life. You probably might not know the title, but you definitely have heard that song. And also her mother Tish was a producer and would later go on to be Miley's manager. So she again was basically prepped to have a career in the public eye. And from day one, Miley was surrounded with recording studios, touring musicians, agents, producers, and an entire like entertainment ecosystem. Like, she basically had all the tools. It's like playing Minecraft on creative mode. You don't need to go digging for like ages to get your supplies that are already there, man. Take your pick. Where do you want to go? Any card. Pick a card. Any card. Now, a lot of people actually think that Miley Cyrus's first role on screens was Hannah Montana, but it was actually in a TV series with her dad called Doc. And this gave Miley like an opportunity to kind of practice and hone her skills as a young lass. And because of this, and because of her surname, she was already familiar with some of the top casting agencies, and Disney specifically already knew of Billy Ray Cyrus and the Cyrus family, so that offered Miley the perfect opportunity to get her foot in the door with them. And this would then lead her to audition for Hannah Montana at just 11 years old. Now, at first, the producers thought that Miley was too young. They were actually looking for somebody that was a little bit older. However, they kept bringing her back. Many people have argued that it was specifically because of her name, because the directors, the producers, the casting team looked at her and looked at Billy Ray Cyrus, and they saw an opportunity to have like a father-daughter connection on screen. And that is kind of like marketing gold. It's a way to kind of market this unknown TV show. Obviously, the IP of Hannah Montana is so huge today, but when it first started, no one really knew about it. So if you can kind of market it that like they're actually daughter and father in real life, it just gives you like something to kind of set out and people to talk about. It's a talking point for a new TV show. Now, I don't need to explain to you how big Hannah Montana was. I've never actually seen an episode of it because I didn't have like those channels as a child, but people were like obsessed with it in my primary school. It became like $1 billion franchise, this girl leading a double life. Honestly, it was so, it's mental how huge that show was. And she actually became Disney's biggest moneymaker within a year since Hilary Duff, so it just shows what a great decision I guess it was from the producers. But again, it begs the question, would Miley have actually been in that position if it wasn't because of her dad? The answer is probably not. However, that is not the sole reason why she was so successful. She has to be good in her own right to, you know, become this huge. Now, one thing that Miley has that many Nepo babies don't have is that kind of need to constantly prove themselves to be better than their parents, to kind of outdo what their parents did and create their own legacy. And she did this after Hannah Montana ended by completely changing her brand up and launching her solo career in the music industry. I remember when she released Party in the USA, and that got like remixed on SoundCloud, and I remember that playing at like every single house party. It was an absolute banger. You know what, that would still be a banger today if I put that on. Then came the bangers era, which everybody knows about. Like, that got everyone talking. I remember like like parents like just being absolutely shook that Miley Cyrus now looked like what she looked like. But I remember at the time like having a crush on her at this point, like when she had like the short hair. I remember there was a music video for Feeling Myself with, I think it was with will.i.am, and I remember watching that video and being like, oh my god, that is, I don't know what that is, but that's my crush. Okay, I don't know why, you know, normally it would be someone else. That Miley Cyrus, when she was in that video, just, I don't know, something in me was like, yeah, okay, girls are quite cool. And her doing this and having such like a huge shift just instantly like broke people's kind of minds of thinking of her as a child. Like a lot of people, you see it with like Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone. You look at him and you just think of him as a child, whereas when I look at Miley Cyrus now, I don't necessarily think of her as Hannah Montana. I just think of her as, you know, just Miley Cyrus in her own right. Now, over the next decade, Miley would like lean into authenticity so much, which has meant she's been able to like prolong her career. She embraced other genres such as rock, she did country like her father, pop as well, and you know, she's able to do all of these things because she's very talented. Obviously, she would have had the lessons as a child, but this is one of the Nepo babies that I think, yes, she was given the foundation, but she really took it to a new level, and her talent and her hard work is what really defines her, in my opinion. Like we've seen with Brooklyn Beckham, Nepo babies guarantees that you've got fame, but it doesn't guarantee you a successful, prolonged career. That is still down to you. Nepotism can only do so much. You have to have like the minerals to actually take it somewhere, in my opinion. And the next person definitely does not have those minerals. I can't stress that enough. This is Chet Hanks. Now, you might be able to tell who he is the son of from his surname. He was a Nepo baby that no matter what he tried, he couldn't cash in. Now, Chet Hanks was born into Hollywood royalty. He is the son of Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson. Obviously, Tom Hanks is one of the most famous actors that ever lived, and Rita also is a huge actress in her own right. She's been in movies with Tom as well, like Sleepless in Seattle, and also A Man Called Otto, one of my favourite movies ever. That is so good. Now, obviously, if your father is Tom Hanks, like, you have just got the golden ticket to the chocolate factory. Like, you couldn't really wish for like a more famous actor, especially in his time. He was literally Forrest Gump, man. If you want to be an actor and you're half decent, you can be an actor at this point. Now, obviously, Chet would grow up around directors, producers. He would be on set with his dad, mixing with the very best of the best, by the way, not just like, you know, decent producers. Tom Hanks only works with the best of the best. Now, Chet would actually be known to the public from a young age, again, similar to Brooklyn Beckham. His identity wasn't hidden as a child. He did actually land some pretty big roles with networks. He was in Shameless, the American version, and also Empire. Now, he wasn't one of the main stars in these, but still, like, for your first roles to be in shows like that, pretty crazy. Now, despite, you know, being given this platform and, you know, having your first couple of acting gigs in really high profile shows, Chet didn't actually decide to build on this momentum or, you know, appreciate this platform that had been built for him. He actually became famous for all of the wrong reasons. Now, I remember first seeing Chet Hanks on my For You page when he was kind of in his era of pretending to be Jamaican, bearing in mind, you know, his dad is Tom Hanks.
Big up the youth them way out of Kingston. Me wake up this morning and me see the thing turn up. Internet gone mad. Respect, you don't know. The soon forward a yard. Booyaka, booyaka.
No, that was sick. That was honestly, that was mint. That honestly, if I close my eyes, that was like listening to Usain Bolt. That was incredible. I don't quite know what happened to you, if I'm being honest.
Me don't want no MAGA gal. Me want them gal thick and firm up.
Why do I fear this would be me if I was a Nepo baby? Just, I watch one movie or something and it's just my entire personality. I can't imagine what this must be like for Tom Hanks. You know, just, this is like what your son's known for. I guess if as a parent, you're probably just like, well, you know, as long as he's happy, as long as he's not getting in any trouble or anything, then that's okay with me. Now, Chet would actually go on to say that he made the patois accent, you know, famous, I guess.
Did kind of make the patois accent a little more trending, I guess, aside from like culture itself and Caribbean culture itself, which is obviously very, you know, vibrant. I was this person to like it in the conversation.
Small up yourself.
Huh?
You know what small up yourself means? In patois?
Smile?
Small
or
up
small?
yourself.
Does that mean like
Small
check
Do you
yourself?
even speak patois?
I mean, Not really.
Not really.
Yeah, honestly, like, I think that I just made the patois, like, accent, like, current. Like, nobody was speaking like that before I started speaking like that. Some people actually say that I've got a bigger influence than me parents, right? But that's for them to say, not me. Now, obviously, this got tremendous backlash, as it should. Now, you would think you would kind of just, like, drift into the shadows, just enjoy your parents' money. But that wasn't the case with Chet, as he very clearly likes the limelight. He likes people talking about him, and he would actually blow up again, not for the right reasons, for being a meme. And this was around him basically saying that Summer was a white boy summer now.
Hey guys, look, I just wanted to tap in really quick. I just got this feeling, man, that this summer is, it's about to be a white boy summer. You know, take it how you want. I'm not talking about like Trump, you know, NASCAR type white. I'm talking about, you know, me, John B., Jack Harlow type white boy summer. You know what I mean? Let me know if you guys can vibe with that, and get ready, you know?
I like that he's putting himself, you know, in the same kind of conversation as Jack Harlow. Like me, you know, Jack Harlow, Justin Bieber, you know, all the sexy ones, you know. Now, this would go so viral and so many edits were made of this, and a lot of people actually discovered Chet Hanks for the first time because of this, as it was going viral on TikTok. So he kind of reached an audience that he'd never reached before. And he tried to actually capitalise off, like, his name being in people's mouths by becoming a music artist. He kind of went down the genre of rap. He would often do freestyles on camera.
Have you written any bars recently that you're hyped about? You could spit for us?
I could just spit some freestyle bars.
For sure, that'd be good.
Okay, we're chilling on my balcony. I'm doing an interview with you, Andrew. You know what I'm saying? You're that dude. You got a biker hat on. What's that about? Is it for the clout? It say Route 66. I pick up sticks. I might pick up your a fly ass whip. You know what I mean? I might go do some burpees right outside of my you know what I mean? Because I'm trying to get a pack out of 6, like a 6-pack.
Yeah. Slaps on mute. Absolutely slaps on mute. You put this on mute, or that you will get the absolute function just absolutely f***ing. We're going to lift the roof off this. Oh, God. Chet Hanks is in the house. He would even do, like, music videos and release, like, actual songs.
Me on my two-step, yeah. West Coast with it, yeah. Bitch, you know we do the most with it.
It's not... I hate to be, like, I feel like I'm just this, but it's just not, it's inauthentic. I think that's why it's not succeeding, because your dad is Tom Hanks and your mother is Rita Wilson. It just doesn't hit the same when we know that you're from, like, a good family, you know what I mean? I just don't know what he's trying to go for here. Again, it's very similar to the Brooklyn Beckham thing. I think he's just found his personality off something that he's watched or something that he's seen on TikTok, and he's thought, this is the thing that's going to give me purpose, and it's just not the one. It's just not the thing for him. And as you can see, he kind of quit pretty quickly. Like, his White Boy Summer song actually did, like, some decent numbers. It got over 2 million streams, but his other ones, like, less than 200,000. His latest one in 2021 didn't actually break 100,000 streams, as you can see. So definitely not successful here. And when his music career failed, he then tried to be, like, someone in the influencer space. He first tried, like, being a fitness influencer and then just an influencer in general. But I don't think he's made much waves into either of those things. And I definitely think the reasons why is because he's having kind of like an identity crisis. Again, he doesn't know what he wants to be. He's got so many opportunities at his doorstep and he can't pick one because I guess they all look exciting. And also the fact that Tom Hanks is kind of like America's dad, like, he's so wholesome, and or he seems so wholesome, and he just seems like a really down to earth, just kind of like a grandpa, and you just can't imagine this being his son. Like, it just doesn't work. His journey has been so inauthentic that people just aren't interested because they know that he's pretending to be someone they're not. And why would anyone want to follow someone that isn't just being themselves? And I think him, more than Brooklyn Beckham, is kind of, you know, a story of how nepotism can only take you so far. Like, yes, you get the opportunities, but if you're not actually good at anything, you're not going to do anything with it. Anyway, Donuts, I hope you enjoyed this video. I did loads of research for it, and you can probably tell, like, I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed doing these videos where I can kind of talk about my niche interests, because I have, like, there's loads of people we could talk about with this. I just find it so intriguing how nepotism affects people, and, you know, the whole story around it taking other people's opportunities. So let me know if you want another video regarding this topic. topic, I'd love to do that for you. 5,000 likes on this video and we'll do that. Now, if you want to watch a similar video to this, where I basically document how OG YouTubers who were once the biggest people on the platform have actually fell from grace, or if they're actually doing better now, click this video right here. We discuss loads of people in this. Genuinely so fascinating to see if people have prolonged their careers over decades or not. I'll see you over there. Bye bye, donuts.
Kirkham, baby.